players played, the way our fans reacted in a class way to, welcoming a legend like Joe Paterno and his team here. There's not very many people that have done as much for college football as Coach Paterno. They've got a good team. They play hard. They play with a lot of toughness. And I knew that it would take a real concerted effort on our part to, match them physically with their toughness and the discipline to execute. And I was really proud of the way our guys competed in the game, but we mis-executed a few things, didn't finish some drives, messed up a short yardage at the end of the game. But I think that the key to the game was probably the turnovers in the red zone. They had 3, which real key to the game. Turnovers always play a significant part in any game, in the outcome of any game, and I think we had 4, but we got 3 very timely when they made drives. I think the point of emphasis for our team is really, it's a great win, enjoy it for 24 hours, but there's a lot of things that we need to improve on. We had to play some different players on defense today. Courtney was not 100%, played a little bit. We got him out. We moved Kerry Murphy to 5 technique instead of nose guard. That was a new position for him. We thought we needed to be a little bigger and stouter in this game to play against, their team. We still, made a ton of mental errors out there, and probably could have finished some things a little bit better on offense. But it was kind of our plan to go no huddle 2-minute, no huddle, empty against them early in the game to try to wear them out a little bit, spread them out, and that was very effective for us on our first drive. The reason we didn't do it to start the game, which we would have, is because we got poor field position after a penalty, on the kickoff return. So, real game management error at the end of the game, which could have been costly. To have 3rd and a half a yard or 4th and a half a yard and want to go for it and have 12 guys run out on the field, after a timeout. Not good coaching, not smart playing, and not a very good game management job on our part. So we need to get that cleaned up. I thought Greg played very well in the game. I thought Trent Richardson had a fantastic game. I think this is the first, back that's gotten over 100 yards against their defense in a long, long time, which says a lot about their defense, but it also says a lot about, Trent making 140 or whatever yards that he made. But I thought Greg did a really good job of managing the game, and I thought we had 4 or 5 guys make plays out there that we need to continue to have more guys make plays in the future to be a good offensive team. But we had good balance, and I think that's going to be the key to us continuing to improve. I was pleased with special teams. We have not done a good job on punt return for 2 games in a row against what we call bulldog punt, which is a spread punt, which is something that we definitely need to improve on. But really proud of our players in terms of the way we completed the toughness that we played with in the game. I think we had good intensity. I think it was a tough night out there, and I think some guys got tired in the second quarter. But I thought we came back and finished the game fairly well, other than the few errors that we talked about. So, I was really pleased with the stadium, the excitement, the crowd, the energy. Really had an impact on the game, especially their young quarterback. And I appreciate that from our fans. I know our players do. But the big focus for us is what we need to do to improve. And sometimes that's hard to get guys to understand when they have success, but it's going to be a real key to us becoming a better football team, is for guys, young guys, to be able to do that. So we eliminate mental errors, play with better technique, and don't give up as many plays. It's going to be an issue for us down the road if we don't do that. We had some injuries. Jordan got a shoulder. He probably is going to get an MRI tomorrow. He would be the most doubtful guy. James Carpenter will probably be okay. Had an ankle, but will be okay. And Milner stretched his hamstring, and he should be okay.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about wanting to spread things out to different guys, and you got the touchdown from Norwood coming up with a big play in Dial as well. Talk about how the importance is for that down the road for you guys.
Well, I think we have a lot of good players on offense, and I think it's important that we show confidence in all those players, and the more of them that make plays, the better it's going to help their confidence, and I certainly think that's going to be something that's going to make us be a better team. And I was pleased that we got more guys involved tonight. Julio made some big plays, and he's a big play player, and you know, we need to probably throw the ball down the field a little bit more if we're going to make more explosive plays, but I was pleased with the number of guys that contributed. You know, hopefully Mark will get back next week. He practiced a little bit on Thursday. We didn't think he practiced enough to play, but even if we just spot play him next week, but I think he'll be ready to go back and practice, you know, on Monday, so that'll be helpful. Be helpful to get Marcel Darius back on defense. But I just think we need more players to contribute, and we need to do the same thing on defense. We keep playing more young guys, and they all need to take advantage of the opportunity.
Jeff on the left.
Nick, I believe you said that this game will be a step in the direction of finding an identity for this team. What did you find out about that tonight?
Well, I was pleased with the way our guys competed in the game. I was pleased with the toughness that we played with. I was pleased with the intensity that we had. I think we went out there with the right mental attitude. I think we need to have a little better discipline and execution. Some of it is experience and knowledge that guys are going to learn from the experiences that they have. Probably especially on defense with some of the young guys that we have playing. And you know, we were fortunate that we got turnovers. That's how we stopped 4 drives, is getting turnovers. And I think we need to do a little bit better job of being more consistent and not giving up as many, you know, sort of big plays. And they had a couple others they could have made out there tonight that we didn't really defend. They just didn't make them.
All right, Chase.
Coach, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the 5 wide set you used on that first touchdown drive. Can you comment on the offensive line's ability to give McElroy time without help from backs and tight ends?
Right, well, you know, when you go empty, you got 5 guys to block, and everybody's got a philosophy of how they played it, how they play it. They changed how they played it in the second half. You know, they started to pressure, but that's not been their history. They didn't pressure a lot, and our 5 guys did a really good job of giving us the time to, you know, make the plays down the field. And, you know, that's something that we should be good at. It really is. I mean, we've got good skilled players, and to spread people out and getting empty is, you know, probably something that we need to do more of, and we're capable of doing. But you got to be able to handle the blitz, and you got to be able to handle pressure if you don't do that.
Kevin on the left.
Would you share what you said with Coach Paterno after the game?
Well, I just, you know, told him he had a good team, and, you know, he's the best, and, you know, one of the best ever in college football. And, you know, I got asked the question this week, do you think this will be the last time you coach against Joe Paterno? And I said, well, I got asked that question, you know, 15 years ago at Michigan State. And so I don't think it warrants an answer. But in his 45 years at Penn State, there's probably not a classier program, a classier gentleman, a better person, and a guy that's affected more lives in a positive way in terms of the class of the program that they have, the quality of people that they always seem to be able to produce. You know, I know Joe has given back a lot to the institution, and I feel like he's someone that we all as coaches, and I don't feel like I'm a young coach anymore, but in comparison, all of us young coaches should try to do more of.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about how the guys who filled in for Darius played, and also how has he handled the suspension, and what kind of difference does he make when he gets back?
Well, he's handled the suspension well. You know, I think that he learned his lessons. He definitely, you know, made a poor choice and decision. Poor choices and decisions have consequences. He's suffered through his consequences. He's worked hard. And I think that he'll make a significant contribution when he came back. The good news is when you have things like this, other guys have had an opportunity to play. So, you know, Damian Squares played more, Luther's played more. Kerry Murphy got to play a little bit more tonight. So there's some young guys there that are gaining experience. When he comes back, that will offer us a little bit more depth, you know, at that position. So we expect him to do a great job when he comes back. I think he's got his mind right, and his attitude is good, and you know, I think he just wants to move forward and do what he can to help the team.
Coach, what was your take on the I don't know what to call it, the fumble, followed by a fumble, a long return, and what did the officials tell you on that?
Well, they reviewed it, and they both were fumbles. It doesn't really matter what I think. You know? I would like to think that the first one was a fumble and we got it, the second one wasn't, but no such luck. And I was worried about the guy getting stripped from behind the whole time he was running it because he was swinging the ball. So that could have happened sooner. But the good news is it did change the field position.
Mike?
Coach, following that, along the 5 wide touchdown drive, came back and ran the ball 97 yards, pretty much exclusively with Trent. How important was it to get that contrast, the run with the pass?
Well, I think that, you know, we have an offensive team that can beat you in several different ways. And we got a pretty good offensive line, so we can run the ball. We've got 2 really good backs. One hasn't played yet this year. So we definitely want to have ways to feature them. I think Wildcat helps us in what we do in that regard, as well as, you know, the plays that we run from regular formations. But I think all the credit has to go to the offensive line, the tight ends, and the people that do the blocking, and our receivers really do a good job of blocking as well. And I think you got to be willing to do other things to create balance, like getting 5 wides and getting your regular stuff and running, and keep the other team off balance, and you give them more things to prepare for. So it's more difficult for them to spend their practice time on one particular thing. And it's one of the things that we wanted to do on offense is have a little more diversity, and I think that we've created some ways to do that.
Last one here, Rick.
3 of those turnovers were in that high red zone area you got against them. What in particular do you have going on defense, dude? Right there at that point of the field?
Well, you know, we really didn't do anything different. We do play differently in the red zone philosophically in terms of the types of coverages that we have and the things that we do. But one was a hit on the quarterback that created a bad pass that became a tip ball that we intercepted. One, we knocked the ball off of them on a pass in the flat. They kept running that cross boot, pick the guy in the flat, throw it to the guy in the flat, which was a good concept for them. And the other one was not a good throw by the quarterback. He threw it behind the guy. We had decent coverage on him. And Robert Lester just did a good job of breaking on the ball. So nothing really different. 2 of them were pressures, and one of them was just coverage.
Thanks, Coach. Players.
All right, thank you.